So we're currently entering that time of the NFL season where the trade talk for lots of NFL teams is heating up. There's lots of conversations with the NFL trade deadline coming up. 2 weeks from today is the trade deadline, November 1st. It is currently October 18th. So, of course, you have those teams around the league who maybe have some holes that they want to fill, looking to the teams that maybe are ready to deal some players. Maybe they're not in the best situation where they thought they would be right now in the season. And so right now, one of the questions for the Packers is, should they come in here and make some kind of trade for a wide receiver? Right now, with the current situation with the Packers wide receivers, especially with all the injuries going down, with Randall Cobb now out most likely 2 to 4 weeks because of an ankle injury, Christian Watson still dealing with his hamstring injury, Sammy Watkins could be back this week after being on the IR for the past 3-4 games. But so far, the Packers have been pretty, ravaged by injuries on the wide receiver core. And when you also look at the Packers offense right now, really struggling, it does beg the question, okay, maybe the Packers should come in here and make a move at wide receiver. It definitely couldn't hurt. So I came across an article this morning from ESPN, Jeremy Fowler, and I want to read you this part right here. So it says, help for Aaron Rodgers. A few general managers I've spoken to are certain Green Bay is looking for potential receiver help on the trade market. One player who makes sense is Pittsburgh Chase Claypool, who multiple execs believe was available in the preseason, though at a hefty price. Claypool is coming off a big 7-catch, 96-yard game to get back on track, so perhaps that makes him more attractive for the Steelers to keep. The rumors of his availability have persisted for a while now, though. He's a major talent whose production has declined in each of the past 2 seasons. So the first thing I want to talk about here is the fact that in the first sentence he says this, a few general managers I've spoken to are certain that Green Bay is looking for potential receivers on the trade market. So that begs the question, okay, how do they know that? Or how are they certain? Either is that an opinion of theirs, or maybe they've gotten calls from the man, Brian Gutekunst himself. So that could be a way that they know that they're certain Green Bay is looking for receivers in the receiver market, which who knows if we'll actually make a move. There are 14 days left, and I feel like the Packers in the past haven't really been a team to come in and make some massive trade at the final deadline. Who knows? Maybe this year is different. We'll have to wait and see what happens there. But it is interesting that a few general managers do believe the Packers are looking for wide receivers right now. And then really the title of this video is about Chase Claypool. So with him talking about Chase Claypool here and looking at the Steelers right now, the question is, should the Packers trade for Chase Claypool? So right now the Steelers are currently sitting at 2-4. They gave wide receiver Deontay Johnson a 2-year, $36 million extension this offseason. They drafted George Pickens in the second round, who's looking really good. And so, considering, as I stated, that multiple executives believed in the preseason Chase Claypool was available in the open markets, that they would be possibly willing to trade him away for someone if they're willing to pay the price. Right now could be a time the Steelers may be thinking about trading Chase Claypool if the price is right. Who knows exactly what that price is, but considering the Steelers already have 2 solid receivers, they started off 2-4, maybe they want to get some draft capital for the future to build this team. On the other hand, maybe considering, as I stated, Chase Claypool had a great game last week, 7 catches, 96 yards. Maybe they want to hold on to him and have 3 solid wide receivers. But if the Packers were willing to part with maybe a 3rd-round pick, 4th-round pick, I think this could make lots of sense for the Packers. As I already stated, the injuries are piling up a wide receiver. We also still are a little bit uncertain with the rookies here, with the young players. Because before the season, my take was, okay, the Packers don't necessarily need to add another receiver at this point. Let's see how they play. Let's see how things are going for this offense. And maybe if, 5, 6, 7 weeks in, the Packers offense is struggling, then maybe at that point you say, Brian Gutekunst says, okay, maybe we need to add one other piece and maybe that'll help this team here. Of course, now we are at that point with the trade deadline coming up in just 2 weeks for the Packers to, if they want to trade for someone, the time is ticking. So if we look, I want to take a look now at Chase Claypool and sort of how he's looked these past few years as we discuss if this would be a viable option for the Packers to potentially improve their offense. So Chase Claypool gets drafted by the Steelers in the 2nd round of the 2020 NFL Draft. This is PFF's website, all their stats here. So 2020 has an incredible year. 62 receptions, 873 yards, and 9 touchdowns in a 75.6 grade. Next year, 2021, so this past year, last year, 59 receptions, 860 yards, and only 2 touchdowns. So he had similar production when it came to receptions and yards. The touchdowns just weren't there for him last year. And then so far this year, 23 receptions, 225 yards, and 1 touchdown with a 61.7 grade. And if we do look at the Steelers, QB situation this year, they have been bouncing around from Mitch Trubisky to Kenny Pickett, so it hasn't really been the best scenario for Chase Claypool. And one interesting thing to note that has really changed drastically for Chase Claypool is if you look here, he played out wide, outside at wide receiver 76% of the time in 2020, 80% of the time in 2021, and now he's only playing outside 19.2% of the time. He has mainly moved to being a slot receiver 80% of the time. So that is very interesting there, I guess, with their receiver situation. They thought maybe it was best to move him inside. And so when we look at his production, he's clearly a great wide receiver. He looks great. He's quick. He's a big, strong physical receiver, 6'4", 238 pounds. He's faster than Allen Lazard. He runs like a 4.42 40. Lazard, I think, runs a like 4.55, 4.6 40, somewhere in that range. So he's quicker. You can sort of see that as well from his highlights. But if the Packers wanted to, get a little boost in the wide receiver production, I think Chase Claypool could be a solid option. As I've stated, I would honestly be fine with any receiver the Packers want to come in here and try to trade for to bolster this unit. I think with the injury situation, with the uncertainty with the rookies still, it just makes sense to take a chance. Who knows if it pays off? If the Packers traded, a 3rd-round pick or a 4th-round pick or whatever else I think would make sense for a Chase Claypool, it could work out. It could not work out. If it works out, obviously, great, and that's a great move. If it doesn't, oh well. But I don't have a problem with the Packers taking a risk, taking a chance for a 3rd, 4th-round draft pick for a guy like Chase Claypool. Maybe he costs a 2nd-round pick, which would the Packers be willing to do that? Would they be willing to part ways with a 2nd-round pick? I honestly do not know. But I just think when you look at the Packers, when you look at the uncertainty of the future here for Aaron Rodgers, who knows how long he plays? We just don't know. Things can change very quickly. So I think that the Packers should honestly make a move at wide receiver just because the offense is struggling and it may need a little bit more life at wide receiver to give Rodgers some more options there. So maybe it's Chase Claypool. Maybe it's not Chase Claypool. Feel free to comment your thoughts in the comments down below, who you think the Packers should make a move for. Of course, there still are guys like Odell Beckham, mainly a free agent, who, of course, he wouldn't be traded for, but that's a possibility. But at the same time, looking at the Packers, how they're playing right now, I'm not sure Odell would want to come to Green Bay, but who knows, maybe he would still. But there's lots of options here for the Packers, but I thought we would discuss this, talk about it. But that is all I have for this video. Feel free to subscribe if you would like to see more Packers content, and I'll see you guys next time.